heaven that Kendrick tells us is touchable might not be real. Or maybe I saw heaven this fall when Yale students marched across their campus in a demonstration against racial insensitivity. It was a seasonably chilly November day, and the well-attended and vocal march was visibly draining some of its participants. To fight for a country to see you as human is an exhausting thing. That exhaustion compounded by the physical exertion of marching, chanting, making your space your own. After the march wound down, someone found a loudspeaker, pressed play on All Right, and in this imagined cloud of despair pulled itself back. People danced, hugged, rapped along with what parts they knew. I realized then that the magic of All Right is the same magic that exists in the body language of the joyful black greeting. It fits so well into these movements because it pulls so many people on the front lines of them to a place of healing. It works as both a rallying cry and a salve. It meets you at eye level and gives you what you need, an escape from the fight or a push to get back in the fight. It is the warm nod and knowing smile from a black face emerging in a sea of white. And there is something to be said about an artist who can face their people while rolling out the welcome mat, whoever might choose to sneak in the back door, while also not being ultimately concerned with their sneaking. Kendrick Lamar says God got us, and the us crawls out of the speaker and wraps its arms around the black people in the room. The way a good preacher might say we in a black church and the congregation hums. The way I say my people, and my people know who they are even if we've never met, or even if we've never spoken, or even if all we have is a shared lineage of coming from a people who came from a people who came from a people who didn't intend to come here, but built the here once they arrived. There is something most comforting in this part of the song, Kendrick's promise that God has us, all of us, sure, but Kendrick is talking about the us who most need to remember that there is a God out there to be named, even if it isn't the one we pray to, or even if we are not of a praying people. There is a God to be pointed at and pulled close. There is a hope in black gospel that I find alluring, even though I wasn't raised in a church, which echoes fear, an urgency even, always a cliff to run towards, the certainty that something will catch you. In February of 2016, an activist and poet from my hometown, Marshawn McCarroll, took his own life on the steps of the Ohio State House. I found this out when my then wife called up to me in the office of our apartment, miles away from Columbus, where I knew Marshawn, where we spent countless hours joking around at poetry open mics or bullshitting at local action events. I am used to the feeling of knowing the dead, having a touchable relationship with someone who is no longer present, yet the immediate moments after the news arrives never get any easier to manage. Marshawn ran towards the cliff, and there was nothing to catch him this time. I went to Marshawn's Facebook page and saw his final message of, "My demons won today. I'm sorry." Right below was a picture of him and his mother, smiling at the NAACP Awards, and right below that, a screenshot of a threat that was emailed to him from someone telling them they wouldn't rest until he shut his mouth. And the truth is, once you understand that there are people who do not want you to exist, that is a difficult card to remove from the table. There is no liberation, no undoing that knowledge. It is an unyielding door, the one you simply cannot push back any longer. And for many, there are reminders of this every day, every hour. It makes All Right the emotional bar, the best there is. It makes existence itself a celebration. I hadn't spoken to Marshawn in months, the thing that we feel most guilty about after a person is gone, especially if we are miles away from home or on a plane to somewhere even further from home on the day of the funeral. The last time I saw Marshawn was at a protest. We hadn't physically seen each other in a while, and we embraced. I slapped his back perhaps a little too hard and asked how he was, and he told me, "I'm all right, you know, I'm still here." And so maybe all of these heavens are the same. Kendrick Lamar's heaven, the heaven that took all of our trains, the heaven of all the trains and chariots that took our ancestors, the heaven on the other side of Harriet Tubman's river. Maybe all they ask is that we help hold back the darkness for as long as we can. And when we can't anymore, they'll save us a room. They'll make sure All Right is playing, and we'll feel the way it's felt, hearing it for the first time in the face of all this wreckage, full of so much promise, as if all our pain were a bad dream we just woke up from. Thank you.